Welcome to Push to Pass podcast with JP Murray, a discussion about business, racing, sports, and life. This podcast delivers insights on what makes businesses, teams, and people successful based on real-life business experiences. Following a career with America's largest associations, JP Murray founded the Murray Company, one of Washington, D.C.'s most successful consulting firms. The company was acquired successfully and enabled him to launch JP Murray Racing, a business development and sponsorship agency for auto racing teams. Here is JP.
Today, we're breaking down one of the biggest sponsorship weeks yet since I've ever been in motorsports, a week I'm calling the sponsorship heist of 2024. But don't worry, friends, there wasn't any actual theft involved. But I feel like in previous episodes, I've been pretty transparent about the challenges and talked about my screw-ups and how I fell short in the business development arena. But this week we crushed it. And I want to tell you why, over the long term, we've been successful regardless of any industry that we've been in. I've been in motorsports. I've been in association management. I've worked in a variety of different verticals. We've got a process that works, and I want to talk about it today. So, we achieved 5 sponsorship sales in a single week. That's pretty good for motorsports, let me tell you. But this didn't happen by accident. It came down to a strategic, process-driven approach that I've adapted over years. And this week, I'm going to share kind of the blueprint with you. So, if you're ready to boost the game, let's just dive right in. I want to start with prospecting. It's the cornerstone of any business development operation. For me, there's a balance between consistency and volume. Each week, I schedule time on my calendar to identify and prospect about 20 new companies. This isn't a random search, it's a focused one. If you're getting a list, this isn't good enough. I'm looking for brands and companies that align with my projects and have a history, in this case, with strategic sports sponsorships. I spend a lot of time identifying those companies that are already involved in sports marketing. So you're targeting organizations that are more likely to find value in what you're offering. When I worked with associations, a company that already was the member of an association or sponsored an association trade show, they were the best targets because I didn't have to reinforce that association membership was a good idea. So I was running downhill when I developed good prospects. You got to be very intentional about prospecting. I use Seamless AI to develop lists and contact information that has accurate email addresses and phone numbers. So the next step is now what I call social engagement. Cold calling can feel off-putting and nobody wants to get a cold call out of the blue in any relationship. Instead, what I start to do then is I follow each company's marketing leaders and keep tabs on their social media presence, getting a sense of how they engage in their audience. I watch the brand and see what their values are, see what their overall style is, and what they might like from a racing sponsorship offer. By engaging their posts or commenting on them, I might even begin to build a bridge of familiarity with me. So thinking of this as a study of a brand's language and tone, so when you do reach out, you're already speaking in a way that maybe resonates with them. So that's the second part of the prospecting model. The third, I move on to tailored email campaigns. Twice a month, I send out emails speaking directly to what I know about the brand's identity, their objectives, and I also develop emails targeted for a specific industry. Whether it's agriculture, gaming, manufacturing, I've got the narrative and I've got the language and the jargon to speak directly to their space. So this isn't a bulk email operation, although I may be sending hundreds. Each email is kind of crafted to a vertical industry group or a type of executive. And hey, I got to say this, I don't worry much about those who opt out. I want you to cross a threshold that you can't connect with someone too much. I hear a lot of people say, well, I've sent them this stuff or I'm maybe calling them too much. I don't care about that. We're looking for a coalition of the willing. And my goal is to connect with the companies who are interested and see potential with us. They'll keep the conversation going. So I don't worry about that. I use HubSpot or MailChimp to send my emails so I can do it at scale. And the other thing that's important is the next part. I want to talk about engagement. When I send these emails, I'm watching for engagement. HubSpot and MailChimp track who's opening, who's clicking. This gives me a warm set of leads. These are brands that I've focused on in my follow-ups. It saves me time, and I know I'm directing energy toward those that are most likely to speak back with me because I've got an idea that they know the topic, they're familiar with the offer. Why? Because I can see that they've opened and clicked on my information. Now, this doesn't guarantee a conversation, but it's much better than cold calling someone that doesn't know you from the man in the moon. Here's another thing that I've tweaked and I've learned over time. The sooner that you can call them after they've opened the email, the more likely they are to pick up the phone and have a conversation with you. So, once we have called these engaged folks, the next step is I go in for a direct outreach with a tailored offer. By now, I've gotten insights into their brand, their goals. I'm familiar with this person. I know they've opened the email. I have an idea about their past sponsorship preferences. My approach here now is specific, not generic. I want them to know that I've done my research and I'm making an offer that aligns with their company. And I've got a clear value proposition. It may be for a specific race. The conversation may be to learn more about how they make decisions about racing sponsorships. That's what I do with big companies. I don't try to pitch them right off the bat. I try to say, how do you do it? How do you decide and what do you look for? They're much more receptive to that. A big company that you're calling, my guess is there are hundreds of other race teams that are just cold calling, trying to blast away at them. So you got to make yourself sound a little bit more informed than everybody else. So my phone script is very specific when I'm calling them. I will leave a voicemail and I will drop an email saying the same thing. So I'm double-barreled because I don't know what they prefer to respond to, a phone call or an email. So that's what ties this all together, is the continuous improvement in each one of these steps that I've outlined for you. Every step in this process is something I'm refining, tweaking, and adjusting, but the structure stays the same because it has worked for me. And it may take time, but if you stay with the process and stick with it, it's been the single most important factor in achieving sponsorship success. I've got a process and I work it over and over and over again. And I want to tell you, these 5 companies that I sold last week, 4 of them have not been in motorsports before. They're brand new to the game. Let me add one other thing. If the conversation continues, the prospect is buying. Listen to what I've said here. I'm not tricking them. This is no verbal jujitsu. I'm not super smooth, but every step of the way, their action and how they respond determines my response and how I'm going to move forward with them. So there you have it, a deep dive into the process that helped me pull off the sponsorship heist of 2024. Sponsorship success doesn't happen by chance. It happens through commitment to a proven, repeatable system, and it will take time. But I'm telling you, if you stick with it, it will work for you. Before we wrap up, I want to thank you for listening. I hope you'll check out the links in the show notes so you can get my newsletter. I got an exciting announcement coming up. I'm going to do a webinar for you that are in the racing business, and I'm going to show you guys how we do this thing. So stay tuned. Thanks for tuning in to the Push to Pass podcast, and until next week, keep driving forward. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you for listening to the Push to Pass podcast with JP Murray, a discussion about business, racing, sports, and life. If you would like to sponsor Push to Pass, send an email to jp@jpmurray.com. Follow JP on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. His website is jpmurray.com. Until next time, push yourself to pass the competition. Thanks for listening.